Wimbledon is just days away, so I want to just hop on here really quick and do a brief power rankings video ahead of the grass court slam. This, of course, is Wimbledon specific, so I'll be ranking these men on three specific categories by a points-based system. The biggest category, which is worth 50% or double the weight, will be a player's form on grass this season. So technically, I guess it's from a scale from 2 to 10, but this isn't just did you win a decent number of grass court matches this year, but also did you beat high quality opponents or have competitive matches against them. 25% of the weight will be previous Wimbledon success. Once again, it's not only winning, but I take into account who you might have lost to and how close. And then the final 25% is a player's overall form in the past 12 months or so in big tournaments, especially in the Grand Slams. I included 12 players in this one instead of just 10 because a few of the players were tied in terms of amount of points. I'll go into a bit in depth more later about why I put certain players above others who did have the same points. Starting us off at number 12 is going to be a definite surprise for many of y'all. It's Jan-Lennard Struff, the German ranked 41 in the world. I put his current grass form at a 9 because even though clay is his best performing surface in terms of results, he's also very great on grass. He has a huge serve and, mixes in the great slices, so that bodes well for a grass court surface. He did play Stuttgart 2, the 250 there as well, but he had to retire from his quarterfinal match against Brandon Nakashima due to an injury issue. But focusing now on Halle for sure, he lost to Sinner 7-6 in the third set in that quarterfinal match, and he was the one who pushed the Italian the most in that tournament. Sinner, of course, he went on to win the whole event. Now, in terms of prior Wimbledon success, I gave Struff a 2.5. Jan-Lennard Struff has never made it past the second week at the All England Club, but he has been dealt rough draws, which is where he gets a few extra points because originally he was going to get a 1. He faced fifth seed Carlos Alcaraz in 2022, I believe in the second round, and was actually up 2-1 against him. And then he lost to second seed Daniil Medvedev in 2021, pushing him to 4 tight sets. When considering overall form in big tournaments, I also gave him a 2.5 because he really hasn't done anything too noble as far as going deep in 1000s or tournaments. But when he does lose in these big tournaments, it's to high-ranked top players, and it's typically very competitive. Now, at number 11, also with 14 points, is Daniil Medvedev. Now, where Daniil is lacking here for sure is in terms of current grass court form. I know seems like we're judging him off of such a small portion since he's only played, I believe, 2 matches at the Halle Open, but what I saw from him was not that great. Daniil is not as comfortable on the grass as opposed to hard courts, but he definitely prefers it compared to clay. I think it's more of a footing and movement thing, as well as him lacking a deeper, court positioning from behind the baseline, which might not bode as well for him on the grass. That being said, when Medvedev serve is on, he can really steamroll opponents on the grass. But the issue with him this season is that he's been struggling, I believe, with a shoulder problem for much of 2024, and that's prevented him from winning as many free and easy points on his serve. And we kind of saw that in Halle during his round of 16 loss to Zhang Zhizhen 7-6 in the third set. It was a very scrappy performance from him. It just wasn't encouraging at all. Now, in terms of his prior Wimbledon success, he has had solid Wimbledon results the past few years that he's played the tournament. He made the semifinals at SW19 last year, and he made the 4th round in 2021, barely losing to Hubert Hurkacz in a match that he should have won, to be honest. You have to beat whoever is in front of you in these tournaments, but Medvedev did play a whole bunch of Kayas last year to make the semifinal, and he got thwarted by Alcaraz in straight sets in that Final Four match. Overall form in the past 12 months in big tournaments has been pretty solid from Daniil. Of course, he made, like I mentioned, the semifinals at Wimbledon last year, made the finals of the US Open and Australian Open, so he definitely knows how to bring it at the slams, and I think he thrives off of that best of 5 format and just simply being a top player and playing the tight moments the best. I think that if he can have a decent draw to where he can work his way into form, he can for sure go deep again here at the All England club. At number 10, once again, with 14 points, is one of Medvedev's biggest ops on tour. It's Sebastian Korda. Now, Sebastian Korda might be a surprise for some of y'all too, but really, he's been very, very impressive this grass court swing. He gets a 9 in terms of his current grass form, and that's because he looked excellent to me in his 2 grass court tournaments that he's played this season. He made the Hertog-Hagenbosch finals, dominating Tommy Paul and Talon Kriegspor, who are 2 great players, before losing to Alex de Minaur in that championship match. He then also reached the Queens semifinals and got some excellent wins over Karen Khachanov and Grigor Dimitrov before falling to Tommy Paul in 2 tight sets, who of course was the eventual champion. Now, when you consider his prior Wimbledon success, there is not much to go off of, which is why I gave him a 2.5. He only played the tournament twice, and his first appearance in the tournament was in 2021, and it was a great Wimbledon debut for him. He made the second week, and he barely fell to Karen Khachanov 10-8 in that 5th set. Now, he lost in the opening round last year, falling to Yuri Vesely, who is tough, not the best player, but he definitely knows how to bring it on grass. I also believe Vesely beat Nadal here at Wimbledon too, so, not too much of a bad loss for him. When you consider his overall form the past 12 months in big tournaments, nothing too much special from Sebi, although, he has been dealt some not so nice draws. Namely, Roland Garros, he faced the eventual champion Carlos Alcaraz in the 3rd round. Even though he lost in straight sets, it was a pretty competitive match. Korda will be the 20th seed for Wimbledon, so I hope for his sake that he doesn't get a tough top seed in that 3rd round, because if he does have a decent draw, he's one that can for sure find his way in a semifinal here. At number 9 is Matteo Berrettini with 14.5 points. His current grass form, I gave him an 8, and honestly, I'm kind of debating on whether I should have given him a higher grass court form point. He made the Stuttgart finals after a 2-month hiatus, which is incredible and just shows you how much Matteo loves the grass. It's definitely his best surface. In that Stuttgart tournament, he beat Denis Shapovalov and Lorenzo Musetti in straight sets before falling to Jack Draper in a nail-biting final. In Halle, he lost to Marcos Giron in 3 sets in the round of 16, which is probably where I bumped him down a little bit more, but I still think he probably could have been a point or so higher, but it is what it is now. He's only played the tournament 4 times, but has done well at practically every time he's played. He reached the final, of course, in 2021, falling to Novak Djokovic in that one, and then he will not be seeded though in this tournament, but he also was not seeded last year and reached the second week, beating the likes of de Minaur and Zverev back-to-back. So I think he can knock out, honestly, anybody here at SW19. Looking at his overall form in the past 12 months in big tournaments, I did put him a little bit lower at number 2, and a lot of that is because even though he does typically perform well in the slams, he has been dealing with injury problems with that back. So, that's my main explanation for giving him that low ranking in that department. At number 8 is Alexander Zverev, and he has 15 points. Current grass form, I give Zverev an 8. Grass, of course, is his least favorite surface, but I think he did overall pretty well in Halle, his home tournament, where he lost to the semifinals to Hubert Hurkacz. Although he did tussle with a few kayaks in order to get there. Wimbledon by far is Zverev's least or worst performing slam. It's the only slam he has not reached at least the quarterfinals at. That being said, though, he has lost to solid opponents when he does lose in the championships. He lost to Berrettini in 2023 and then Felix Auger-Aliassime in 2021. I think that if his serve is on, which has been a huge shot for him in his latest comeback, he can for sure go deep because the serve is one of the most important shots on the grass. At number 7, another rather surprise, is Jack Draper, who also has 15 points. Current grass form, I actually give Jack Draper a 10. He won Stuttgart, of course, so that's self-explanatory. And then in Queens, he upset the defending champion and top seed Carlos Alcaraz in straight sets to make the quarterfinals. Now, in that quarterfinal, Draper was unsuccessful. He fell to eventual champion Tommy Paul in 3 tight sets, but I still think it was a great effort for him to even go that deep after having, winning a whole tournament the week prior in Stuttgart. Jack is bound to have a lot of success on this surface. His serve is incredible, especially with him being a lefty. That slice serve can just skid so fast out of opponents' wheelhouse on the grass. And then he has just a big overall game, big forehand, just big ground strokes, solid volley. So it's no surprise that he's having success. The biggest thing for him has been injuries. And I'm kind of jumping right now down to the overall form and pass in big tournaments. But he hasn't had a lot of major success because he hasn't really played a lot of majors. His best result in the slam was at the US Open last year, where he made the 4th round. But then going to prior Wimbledon success, he gets the 3 there, which some people might say that's a little bit high. But I put him at a 3 because even though he has not reached the 3rd round, he's only played this tournament twice, in 2021 and in 2022. He drew Novak Djokovic in 2021 and pushed him to 4 sets, which is an incredible effort in the opening round. And then he played Alex de Minaur in a tight 4-set match in the 2nd round in 2022. I also give him a little bit of extra points because he will have the strong crowd support, which should help him a lot. Now, going to number 6 is Novak Djokovic with 15 points. Of course, Novak Djokovic really should not be this low, but the sole reason why I'm putting him at number 6 and not in the top 3 is because he just had knee surgery for his meniscus issue in his right knee 3 weeks ago. He's played practice sets against players, like he played Francis Tiafoe. Reports said that he won that in a tiebreak, and then today he played Jannik Sinner, and they said the score was 3-6, 2-1, so that's a promising sign for Novak, but I'm not sure. It's tough. In my last video, I just came out and said that he should not play this tournament because of, the knee, and players have been slipping like crazy on grass, and I just don't know if his procedure and his knee can withstand best of 5 tennis, even though on grass points are bound to be shorter, but still, I'm not that optimistic. Now, in the other 2 departments, self-explanatory. He gets 5 in those other 2 departments. He's a 7-time champion at Wimbledon, 1 less than Federer. He's reached the finals in each time he's played at Wimbledon, I believe, since 2017 was the last time he played and did not make a final. So, yeah. Overall form in the past 12 months in big tournaments, another 5. Even though he has not had the best season by his standards, he peaks for the slams. That's what he thrives on in playing the slams. He won the US Open, the ATP finals, made the semifinals of Australian Open. So yeah, self-explanatory there. Coming into the top 5, we have American Tommy Paul, who is also at 15 points. Current grass form, I gave Paul a 9, and maybe he could stand to get a 10. Yes, he won Queens, which is a great effort from him, a 500 tournament, but he did not play a seed all week, and that's why I kind of bumped him down a little bit, but also because he lost pretty handily at the Alabama Open to Tommy Paul 4-2. But regardless, he's just been playing very well recently, and he's for sure going to be one to watch at Wimbledon. Speaking of Wimbledon, talking about his prior Wimbledon success, I gave him a 2.5. Paul's best result at SW19 came in 2022, where he reached the 4th round. Last year, he made the 3rd round, lost to Yuri Hechka, I believe, in a tight 4 or 5 setter. So not too much to go off of there. It's just pretty mid, which is why I gave him a 2.5. And overall form in the past 12 months in big tournaments, I gave him a 3.5. Paul is another player who he actually does do well in slams as well. He knows how to bring his best game for the best of 5s. And yeah, I think he can bring it. He's had a couple of other strong results in the Masters 1000, making a couple of semifinals there. So yeah, I think a 3.5 is deserved for him. At number 4 is Alex de Minaur with 16 points. I gave Alex a 9 in terms of current grass court form because he won the Alabama Open 250, not dropping a set in his 4 matches played there. And even though that was a 250 tournament, he got some really great wins, in my opinion. He beat Raonic, Hugo Humbert, and ultimately Korda. He did fall in the Queens opening round match against Lorenzo Musetti, and I feel like, though, that was a good loss because Musetti, he ultimately made the final there, and he is a solid grass court player himself. Prior Wimbledon success, I give de Minaur a 3. His best result came in 2022, where he made the 4th round there, but he has had some tough draws at SW19. He lost to Berrettini last year and then to Korda in 2021. Overall form in big tournaments, I gave de Minaur a 4. In hindsight, that was too high. He should get a 3.5, but it is what it is. He has done better though in recently in bigger tournaments and slams. He made the quarterfinals in Paris, the 4th round in Melbourne, so he has been doing much better in the slams. And I feel like if he has a solid draw, there's no reason why he can't go as far, if not farther at Wimbledon. At number 3 is Hubert Hurkacz at 16.5. His current grass court form, I give him a 10, even though he did not take the title in Halle. He did not drop a set en route to that championship match. He beats Zverev in the semifinals and pushed the eventual champion, of course, Sinner, to 2 tight tiebreak sets. Grass is likely his best surface, and it's mainly because of his big serve. He can win so many free and easy points off of his serve, and I feel like a lot of people don't realize that Hurkacz is one of the biggest serve bots that we have on tour right now. Also, his flatter ground strokes complement the fast, surface of grass. Aside from a round 1 exit in 2022, Hurkacz has had a solid Wimbledon history. He made the 4th round last year, losing to Novak Djokovic in 4 sets. And honestly, Hurkacz could have and should have won that match. He had a lot of opportunities there that he just did not take advantage of. And then his best result came in 2021, where he made the semifinals, beating Roger Federer en route. Overall form the past 12 months in big tournaments, I honestly thought Hurkacz, he has the reputation of just being god-awful in slams. But in doing research for this, I remembered that his recent slam results have not been bad. They've actually been pretty solid. He made the quarterfinals this year at the Australian Open, 4th round at the French, losing to Dimitrov in a somewhat of a tight 3-set match, but losing to Dimitrov in a slam is not anything to be ashamed of. So I think he's been trending in the right direction in terms of his slam results, and I really do not think that he'll have a bad slip up in the first week. I came into this power rankings anticipating ranking him much lower than I did, but his slam prospects aren't that bad. At number 2 now, I think this is where we have a bigger gap in terms of the favorites. We have Carlos Alcaraz with 17 points. Alcaraz has only played 2 matches this year on grass thus far. He lost to Jack Draper, of course, in that Queen's quarterfinals. He was simply kind of outplayed, and it was really not a bad performance from Alcaraz, but Jack was just the better player there, and Carlos just did not bring his best tennis, of course. Prior Wimbledon success, a 5 automatically. If you're a champion within the last 10 years, 10 years, you automatically get a 5. And then overall form the past 12 months in big tournaments, another 5. I feel like I really don't have to explain that much either. Roland Garros Wimbledon champion, There were reports that he played Daniil Medvedev today in a practice match. They said that he was up, I believe, 6-1, 1-0 or something like that. So, good for him. Now, of course, number 1 should not be a surprise at all, and that is Jannik Sinner with a whopping 19 points. His current grass court form, a 10. He won Halle. He was tested throughout the tournament, but showed why he is the number 1 player in the world, as he came up with the clutch play in the right moments. The only thing to be wary about is that non-Federer, Roger Federer, Halle champions do not perform well at Wimbledon at all. So, I think that Jannik, he has the potential, obviously, in the game to break the curse. So, not that much of a concern. That's just another tidbit. Prior Wimbledon success, I give him a 4, which I think is fair. He made the semifinals last year at Wimbledon, falling to Novak in straight sets. His better performance, I guess, was in 2022, where he was up 2 sets to love over the Serbian, but was unable to come through in that quarterfinal. So, why not? There's no reason why he cannot make another deep run at SW19. Overall form the past 12 months in big tournaments, of course, the 5. He's the Australian Open champion. He has Roland Garros and Wimbledon semifinal points behind him. And then 2, he has made the semifinals or better in all completed events that he's played this year. Just still the clear number 1 player in the world, clear best player in the world. So putting him here at number 1 in my power rankings was a no-brainer. Now, before I kind of explain a little bit more of my top 12 picks, I do want to go over some honorable mentions. Grigor Dimitrov had 13.5. I gave his grass court form an 8. Maybe I could have given him 8 is okay. 8 is okay. He lost his second round match to Korda and Queens, which was a tight one. So maybe that. Wimbledon success is where he was a little bit lower at 2.5, and then performing in big tournaments, he got a 3. Lorenzo Musetti, he also got a 13.5, and he got a 9, which is very much deserved because Queens final, Stuttgart semifinal, great playing thus far on the grass. He got 2.5 though for prior Wimbledon success. He did have tough draws, but then he gets a 2 in terms of overall big matches or his performances in the big tournaments. Rublev is another one I considered. He could have been there for sure, but he got a 12, and that's because of his poor performance. And Halle and then Taylor Fritz, he also could have made it. I give him a 6 in terms of his grass court form. So, yeah, he could have made it too, but I'm overall pretty happy with my top 12. Now, giving my final thoughts on my picks and kind of justifying why I put certain players above others. Struff, of course, is at the bottom at 12. I think, that's self-explanatory. Medvedev, he could have been higher technically above Korda, but I just think Korda's sublime form on the grass put him over the edge for me there. Zverev is at 15 at 8. He could have been technically higher than Draper. He really should have been, but being fully transparent, I do not like you, Alexander Zverev, so that's why I put you at 8. I can never give you a 10, but I gave you an 8. Draper, like I said, he could have been a little bit lower, but I'm fine with that pick. Novak Djokovic, he's at 6. Technically, he could have been at 5 or so, but I don't know. That knee surgery. Tommy Paul, I'm happy with that pick. Alex de Minaur, other ones I'm happy with. So, I mean, yeah, those are my power rankings. So that's all I have. Let me know what y'all's power rankings are in the comment section, and whether you believe my power rankings are absolute trash, or if you think I was cooking with something when making these. Make sure y'all subscribe to and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post my women's power rankings video, which is set to come sometime later today. So stay tuned for that. Thank y'all so much for watching. I am Christian Bass Knight once again, and I'll see you next time here on Christian's Court.